crazy thunder. Sound off, who's here? Welcome here. You don't have to sound off, but feel free to. Woke up feeling like hammered pooty again today. 2 days in a row. I'm telling you, I never get sick. I don't drink. I'm not on any dope. It was just whatever the hell was in this water a couple days ago floated in here. Just nasty water. Some industrial spill. Oh, got my sinuses all messed up. Yeah, Spider-Man, I'm all right. It's just I'm feeling a little better today, and the water's cleared up, so whatever caused it is gone. It's just, man, it got me off my feet. Hey, Susan. Yeah, I know that feeling too. Oh, man. It just started raining a little while ago. That's why I went live. There's nothing else going on out here to show till it started thunderstorm. I mean, what was I gonna do? Sit here on the camera and moan about my aching sinuses? Nah. I gotta get the canvas on the sides rubberized and get the hook downs on it. That way I could see. Today I was thinking about building the mounts for the solar panel and moving the panel from the front to the back and mounting it up there and stuff, and I thought, wait a minute, I can't do that yet because then I'd have to put the tarp over the solar panel. You know, like I gotta have the canvas down the sides. The roof is sealed, but I don't have my curtains waterproofed yet. Just think about when I put water catchment on the roof. Every day this time of year, that would fill jugs really quickly. You know, I could easily put 20 gallons a day on the boat just by catching the rain. I actually want to build the roof and design it where a little lip around it, so when it rains it holds just a little bit of water on top. That way after it rains It takes a while, like the sun has to evaporate that water before it starts cooking the roof and heating the boat up. You know, thought about, what if I have a little 12-volt pump that when I'm not catching rain, I can draw up some water out from under the boat and just cycle it over the roof. I bet it would keep the boat a lot cooler. You know, if it's designed to hold like a little half-inch of water. That would actually, the problem with that, if you stop cycling the water, you're going to get salt on the roof. But then again, maybe I want to have a salt maker. Maybe I want to catch water and turn it into salt. Yeah, if I make the roof with a kind of like a catchment on it, and I put a little gutter on each side at the low end, and I just put a little bit of on it so that the roof itself holds a little bit of water before it flows out. And that water will stay up there for hours before it evaporates. On summer days like this, I wouldn't mind cycling salt water during the hot parts of the day. Doesn't use any more power than a fan to pump a little water. And I know it's going to rain every day, so it's going to rinse all that salt water off. I don't know. I'm always thinking of stuff like that. Like, how can I cool the boat with, you know, naturally? How can I power the boat with nature? Look, Bill Gates built a yacht that powers itself. It makes its own power. It makes its own water for a whole village worth of people. It makes its own fuel. It's pretty much self-sustaining. It's big enough to grow a hydroponic farm in. So you could basically support your family and have room to roam while traveling the 7 seas in such a vessel without ever stopping for fuel or water or food. Now, I don't think you can get all of that in a vessel this size. But if I could get fuel, electricity, and water, even if my garden only consists of one tomato plant, or like something I find, I like to grow something that grows in salt water, but it's hard to find. Most of the food that grows in salt water is a tree. Like, I know there's certain types of olives, and there's mangroves, and there's the crab apple trees that grow here. But like, man, what kind of foods don't require an entire tree that'll grow in a flower pot in salty air? I haven't had any luck with tomatoes. I find the first time they get a spray of salty air, the whole plant dies. No, I think if I'm going to have a garden, it'll be like a little stealthy, hidden permaculture garden on an island somewhere, or a bunch of different islands, and like, I don't know, go around there. Kind of not keep your eggs in one basket kind of thing, but man, it's really hard to grow anything worth collecting if it's not someone there maintaining it, weeding it, feeding it, watering it when it's dry. You don't really get much of a crop if you don't do it that way. What you do find is different locations where certain foods do really well, and they're already flourishing there. Like, the whole island is flourishing, but that particular food only comes in season a certain month or two out of the year. So the trick is just dropping in at that time of year to harvest. Yeah, the critters are a thing, for sure. There's ways around that, Susan. I don't look at it like wasted money. If you have a plant and a critter comes and eats the food, it's not really wasted. It just means you didn't get it. But it's like, okay, if that was some flower, you weren't going to eat it, so why not have it be some red peppers or tomatoes or whatever? Like, I don't like getting into where you got rows and rows of something, and then if you get a pest, if you get it, well, that's what I'm saying. You don't count on that for your livelihood. But like, okay, if you put all your money, all your time, and all your effort into tomatoes, and something happens, those tomatoes get infected, they all die, and you starve. If you put a few tomato plants here, and you put some lettuce there, you put head lettuce over there, and you got leaf lettuce over here, and you're doing different, you got squash, you got, cucumbers, then when your tomato plants get infested with something, like, you fall back on your squash and cucumbers and your melons until you figure it out. But there's always some way, like whatever's infesting, destroying your crop, there's a way to get around it or deter it or prevent it. You know, because hell, otherwise we wouldn't have food. But yeah, if you don't at least put a fence around your garden, you're not going to have any food. You know, you can't just have a garden. You have to have a whole ecosystem if you're going to be a farmer. Because, like, if you're growing tomatoes and you don't have chickens and turkeys and praying mantis, you're going to have an aphid problem. You know? But if you got, like, if you got tall grass where the praying mantises can grow and live, they'll come and they'll eat all the aphids, man. And in between them, and like the grasshoppers will eat all your crop if you don't have some turkeys and chickens to eat those, you know. But like, yo, the coyotes will come and take your turkeys and chickens if you don't have a couple dogs. You know, and the dogs, you know, that, you know, you got to have a few cats to get rid of the snakes and rats, you know. But like, it's not just you don't just grow some vegetables. You're constantly working the whole, you're basically taking a piece of land and rearranging it so more food comes out of it, but it already has to be fertile land to do that, really. You know, it has. I mean, imagine, how did people do it before there was chemicals and pesticides and shit, man? In history, they taught us that barbed wire was a terrible, horrible thing. But like, really, barbed wire is really not all that bad. It's like, you see what it does to a cow. It doesn't bother them really. They scratch on it. Like, they got really thick skin. It hurts a person, but it mostly just is a deterrent. And the cows, man, we had 4 strands of barbed wire around our pastures, and the cows would just push through it every day. We'd get 2 or 3 cows get out, and they'd be standing in the grass right next to the field. And like, yeah, deer are something else. They can jump an 8-foot fence. A 5-foot fence is just a marker for a deer. It's not a deterrent. It doesn't stop them at all. Or elk either, man. Elk would just step over that 5-foot fence. And that's why the freaking 2 big freaking dogs are there. But, you know, like, if I'm out in the wild and a deer jumps into my garden, I'm like, hallelujah, pow, we're having freaking venison tonight. You know, it's like, I hope the deer come to my garden, because that's like 200 pounds of meat in the freezer. Oh, yeah, you can't freaking shoot a deer in the city either. I mean, I guess you could probably shoot one with a, no. No, you can't even shoot one with a bow in the city, can you? Freak the neighbors out. Imagine if you freaking walked out to your freaking yard with a big old Bowie knife and started gutting a deer in front of your neighbors. They would freak out. Oh my God, people these days are so freaking squeamish over life itself. Like they just can't even handle the reality of life. They'll eat burgers every day, but to see someone kill a deer in their yard would freak them out. Like they'd have a conniption. They would go running to their counselor and their lawyer, and and it's like, yeah, we eat meat every day, but we don't want to see it killed. You know what? I think by the time you're 15, you should be required to shoot. Well, maybe not necessarily shoot, but to kill something if you eat that meat. Like if you eat chicken, you should have to have killed a chicken by the time you're 15. If you eat beef, you should have had to freaking killed and slaughtered a cow by the time you're 15. Same with pig. Like, they should be teaching where every kid gets the experience of seeing it go from the field to the plate and every step of the process. And like, even vegetables, man, like, how many people don't even know where potatoes come from and wouldn't even know. Like if you told them there's a field of strawberries and there's a field of onions and potatoes out there, go and pick all you want. They would go out there and search for days and never find it in the middle of the field. They would be completely bewildered if you didn't give them instructions on how to actually harvest the potatoes and the onions. Like, you didn't tell me they're under the ground. Want these come out of the dirt? Yeah, I remember it traumatized me because I had come from the farm, and I go into the city and I see this little kid, and well, he wasn't even little. He was like 12, 13, 14, at least 13, 14. And he's like, "Mom, what's hamburger come from?" And his mom got all miffed, started huffing and puffing and wouldn't answer. And my brain went to this post-apocalyptic world where all these kids were in a field and they're just like the survivors, Parents didn't make it. And they're out there in a field full of pigs and cows and starving, and they got butcher knives and clean water and everything, but they don't have any beef or pork. And I could just picture them standing around going, "Man, I'd kill for a slab of pork or some beef ribs right now, but there's nothing to eat. There's nothing around but a bunch of cows and pigs." And you wouldn't see any chickens because they knew that chicken was chicken. Like they would figure out that chicken is chicken. Like, I don't know how long it would take them to figure out that they could take the feathers out of it before eating it, but like, they know that chicken is chicken because it's called chicken, and they would know that fish is fish, but they wouldn't know that beef is a cow because no one told them. Well, man, would they recognize a strawberry growing on a bush? Like if you gave it to them like that. It's crazy. These kids today are experts at insulting. Like, they're experts at insulting and deflecting, but not reasoning and logic or skill. Like, trades, creating shit. Like you're trying to freaking get them to get AI to teach, like, oh, get AI to create for you. Like, oh my God, dude, what are we doing? What is this world coming to? Moo. Oh, yeah. I went to a restaurant one time and I was feeling really anemic, and like, man, I kept telling them I wanted the steak more rare. And they were like, man, no. Look, take a steak and sear it on the outside, and so that it's not cooked. Like, I just want it seared on the outside so that all the germs are burnt. And like, I want the meat bleeding, and I want it to moo when I bite into it. And I don't usually eat meat like that, but sometimes when I'm feeling really, really anemic, I'll do that and I feel better. I don't know if that makes me a vampire or what, but yeah, well, that's the thing, man. That's fine if you want to be a military drone pilot. Then getting really good at video games is fine. But, you know, I thought it was funny back in the 80s and 90s when all these kids were getting into video games, and they get really good at karate on the freaking karate chop game on the video game, you know, and they thought they were good at fighting in real life. You know, they'd come up to you and be like, and you know, and then right before you knock them out or put them in a headlock or freaking take them down and like just put them in a chokehold and they freaking flop out. Like, they're doing all kinds of freaking yeah, it was funny. It's like, yeah, you know, left, right, up, down, left, left, punch, punch, does this special move. But in real life, you have to actually use your muscles to make those moves happen. And most of them, like, you would never really want to use in a real fight. That's not how it works. And like, no matter how hard you scream and push with your chi, no fireball is going to emanate from your hands. Oh, Susan, it only depends. It really, you know, how... Well, these days, I'd say, yeah, I don't eat meat that's not fully cooked anymore because I don't trust the food industry anymore. Like, I don't, man, I don't even want to get into that because it turns my stomach just thinking about all the garbage that we eat that they call food. But, yeah. But even with farm raised, there's like, if I raised it myself, there's certain meats I'm not going to eat without being fully cooked, no matter what conditions they're raised in, because you just can't, like beef. Okay, you can inspect it for worms, you know. But pork could have trichina worm in it, and you can't visibly see it. And they're not going to like go through and take samples and put them in a microscope, and, before prepping your food, cooking it, and eating it. Just really look at what animal you're dealing with and what parasites they can have, and like most of the diseases we get with foodborne illness is usually bacteria related, and it's because of cross-contamination or like unsanitary. Oops, sorry.